The sights and sounds of wildfires, storms, and flooding are not new to Californians. Just recently, devastation hit mountain communities like Mount Baldy, where Bruce Bai is among those who lost his home because of the bridge fire.
I got out of there and just everything burnt. I went back later on that night and I could just see the house, just burning. They wouldn't let me go back any further, but it's just a pile of dust now.
He made it out with his dogs, but says the fire blazed through Baldy so fast he was only able to grab a couple of T-shirts and documents.
It was just getting closer and closer and stuff. There's nothing I could do.
In 2022, Hurricane K brought a stretch of rare weather to Southern California, leading to significant beach erosion, completely tearing away sections of coastline.
We saw around 5 feet of vertical displacement of the sand. So sand that was at this point here, I'm almost 6 feet tall, is now down here. And so that means that walkways down to the beach aren't accessible.
It's kind of scary knowing that I've been down here for 20 years, and there used to be a basketball court down here, and used to play basketball all the time with my kids and stuff, and that washed away.
I'm so used to being able to walk from San Clemente all the way down to Doheny Beach.
Many scientists say these examples and many others prove climate change is creating extreme weather behavior in the Golden State. Prop 4 would authorize $10 billion in bonds, the largest single amount ever to fight climate change in California history. $1.2 billion for coastline protection, $1.5 billion would go to wildfire protection. Billions more would go to safe drinking water, drought, flood, and water resilience, as well as fish and wildlife.
I would argue that this is something that's crucial to the health and well-being of Californians, and that's why it's a sound investment for us, and it is a small portion of our budget.
Prop 4's appearance on the ballot comes in an attempt to offset Governor Newsom's recent climate budget cuts, which were done in part to combat the state's multi-billion-dollar deficit. Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Sabur helped sponsor the prop.
The climate crisis does not go away when we are in deficit in years of lean budget.
Abraham Mendoza is a policy manager at the Community Water Center, an organization devoted to providing access to safe, clean, and affordable drinking water to all Californians. He believes acting now rather than waiting is imperative.
If we don't invest now, we pay the cost for it later at an exponential rate.
The legislation requires at least 40% of the money be allocated to projects that help vulnerable populations or disadvantaged communities.
It's important to realize that people are already feeling the financial impacts of this by paying out of their own pocket. This is a really, really great opportunity to move the needle along substantially in so many areas for communities that for so often have gone underinvested and underfunded.
And while the measure has the support of a number of groups, there are financial implications to consider. If voters approve Prop 4, California taxpayers will have to pay back the bond with interest that will total $16 billion. That has opponents of the measure worried, including California Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones.
What we're doing currently, if this passes, is tying the hands of future legislatures that may need that $600 million or $400 million in their budget. But we're tying that up right now.
Senator Jones and others against Prop 4 argue this is wasteful spending, focused on non-specific projects, and that it will be paid for by people down the road who had no say in the legislation to begin with.
Voting yes on this proposition puts the state and future taxpayers in debt for 30 to 40 years. Voting no tells the legislature for us to do our job and prioritize these things and get them done sooner than later.
A decision voters will make now that could have a decades-long impact. Gio Insignares, KCAL News.